Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to do a tutorial for creating rocks using only procedural nodes as you see in this scene here. This procedural node setup will be able to alter the color as well as physical properties like smoothness. And we will also learn how to create grass using a particle system. Before going forward, consider clicking the like and subscribe button. It really helps me out. So let's jump right in. I'm going to start by going down into the material properties panel right here and scrolling down to settings and changing the displacement from bump only to displacement and bump. This is a very important step. Then I'm going to go under the modifier properties panel and add a subdivision surface modifier, and I'm going to increase the levels to 5. Then I'm going to go under the render properties panel and change from Eevee to cycles. I'm going to change device to GPU, and I'm going to alter the viewport max samples from 1024 to 3 and click denoise. This will allow me to check my work in rendered view, which is something I really like to do. Also, we will change the object to shade smooth, and now we're ready to begin. So we'll go under the shading tab, and we're going to use a noise texture and a Voronoi texture to drive the colors. So I'm going to add a noise texture, and I'm going to hold Control T to add the texture coordinate and mapping node, and I'm going to drag the object to the vector. And between the noise texture and the principal BSDF, I'm going to add a color ramp. I'm going to plug the factor into the factor and the color into the color. And I'm going to change this slider by double clicking it and changing it from white to light gray. Somewhere a little bit above the halfway mark is good for right now. And I'm also going to now add my Voronoi texture, which is going to be the second aspect of the color node setup. And I'm going to hold Control T, bring in the mapping and texture coordinate, and object to vector. I'm going to duplicate this color ramp and bring it down. I'm going to connect the distance to factor, and I want to join these two colors together. So I'm going to add a mix color node right here, and I'm going to drag the color from the color ramp and the Voronoi texture to the B factor. Now, right here, we get a little bit closer to our cube. We get sort of this speckling, and it's not exactly what we want. So we're going to make some changes to the color. We're going to change the scale on the noise texture from 5 to 60, and we are going to now bring this slider, the gray, over to where it's between the arrow and this RGB right here. And right now I want to change the roughness from 0.5. I want to bring this down to about, I think, 0.07. That seems good right now. I like that. We get a little bit of noise speckling. Now, over here, I want to drag the black slider from the Voronoi texture over to where it's just a little bit past the minus symbol. And I'm going to increase the scale from 5 to about 8. And I'm going to increase the detail to 15, just to maximum. And it just lightens everything up, makes it a little bit more subtle. And now I'm going to leave the rest of this where it is. This is good. So I'm happy with this for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and hold and drag and box select. And I'm going to hit F. And then I'm going to name this color. It's going to name this frame color. And now I can just drag this over, and I can make changes and keep this really organized really nicely. Now, nothing's really happening right now. That's because we need to add the displacement. The displacement is really going to be important for getting those details in so we can really see all of that special realistic detail. So let's start off by adding a displacement node. And we're going to plug this right into the material output. We're going to go displacement to displacement like this. and nothing happens. But if I change the scale right here, if I start changing it, you see things happen. So we're going to just leave this right now. We're going to just hit the backspace, and it's going to reset. So we're going to use 3 different nodes. We're going to use a Voronoi and 2 noise textures to drive this displacement. So let's start with our Voronoi. And we will add 2 noise textures. And we are going to select the Voronoi texture and hit Control T, and we're going to bring up the texture coordinate and mapping, and as you may guess, I'm going to connect the object to the vector, and I'm going to connect the vector to all 3 of these. So they're all one and, oh, I accidentally messed up right there, all one and the same. Now, I'm going to bring that right here. I'm going to add these together using a series of mix nodes and math nodes. But first, I'm going to add a smooth maximum. And I'm going to put this in front of the Voronoi texture. This is going to allow us to alter the smoothness of the rock really early on in the displacement node setup. This is really important. So now, I'm going to hit Shift A. Under Search, I'm going to add a multiply node right here, and I'm going to plug the factor into both of these. All right. Now, I want to, at this point, I want to mix them together. So we are just going to type in mix and add a converter mix node, and I'm going to plug the value from smooth maximum right into this A right here, and then the value from the multiply into B. Now, just so you can sort of get a view of what's happening right now, because we're making changes and you're not really seeing much, I'm going to plug the result in this just really temporarily, and it's going to update. I'm going to change from material preview mode to rendered view mode, and I'm going to increase the scale just to show you. And we can make changes now and start to see it. And I'm going to leave this right here at 0.810 so we can start to just see some of those changes as we go. That'll make things a little bit nicer to just see everything. And now what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this multiply node right here, and we're going to place it right here. But don't do anything just yet. Don't connect it just yet. We want to take this factor right here, and we want to drag it into the bottom, and we want to connect this mix node right here, and then this value into the height. And it's going to just change everything ever so slightly. But now what is happening is all 3 of these nodes are now connected. We connected them using the multiply and mix nodes. This is just a really good way of being able to combine those and pull them into the displacement modifier really easily. Now we can start making some changes and make this look much more realistic. So let's start off with the Voronoi. The Voronoi should be changed from 3D to 4D, and let's change the scale to, I want to bring this down. I'm feeling, let's go, yeah, I like -0.8. Let's bring the detail up to 15. And you can always make changes, you know, to suit whatever type of look you're going for. You can make changes to whatever you want. This is just what I'm doing right here. And I'm going to bring the roughness up just a little bit to about 0.6. That looks good right here. And I'm going to come down here into my second noise texture, and I'm going to change that from 3D to 4D right here. It's going well. And now I'm going to bring the scale to about, let's do 2. Yeah, let's do 2. And I'm going to raise the detail to 15. And I'm going to leave everything else just as it is. And the final noise texture, oh, right here, I'm going to increase, I'm going to change it from 3D to 4D. But I'm going to change the scale to about 1. Let's go a little higher than that. Let's go, yeah, 1.3 works. I like 1.3. And we're going to increase the detail to 3, and we're going to leave everything else as it is. Now, right now, we have a decent looking rock. It's decent, but we can make changes to it. Let's make some changes. Let's pop in here, and we'll get to sort of see the smooth. I mean, you just make changes to any aspect of this node setup, and you can make the rocks bigger, you can make them smoothed out, you can change the color, you could start altering. As you can see, I'm changing the Voronoi right here. You can add various details really wherever you want. And, you know, you can start playing around with it. You know, if you want to isolate this Voronoi a little bit more, you could try mapping it under its own texture coordinate. You can do really anything you want with it from here. But this is the basis of how I create my procedural rocks, and I'm pretty happy with it, especially with the smooth maximum node. This really helps just get that smoothness where you might have those really bizarre jagged edges and you want to overcome that. And what I really like about it too is if I go right back into layout mode right here, I can, you know, I can add a different shape. Like let's add a UV sphere. Let's just move that on the Z-axis. Let's shade it smooth. And we can just come over here. We'll go under shading. A to copy everything. A to select everything and then copy everything. And select the sphere. Also, ooh, yeah, you do want to add the subsurf. Crank it to 5. Oh, went to 6 accidentally. You click new. You delete these with X, and then you paste. Node setup. And why is it not looking like this? It's because we did not change the material settings to displacement and bump. And once we do that, everything's in its place. So you don't have to go through creating the whole node setup, obviously, all over again. And you can start making changes, you know, to one rock and build a scene. You know, now you have like a little node setup to start building your scene however you want. Now let's create a nice plane so we can create some grass. So the way we create some grass is by going under the particle settings right here under the particle properties, and we'll add a new one and we'll immediately change it to hair. And we see that we get these little strands that pop up. We want to increase the number to about 1500 right off the bat. I find that it's always good to just add a few more. And then go under children right here and change it from none to interpolated. And it gets a lot more full. And we want to just bring this length way far down to about I like 0.08, about 0.089, we'll say that is. And and then we'll start just making a few changes. We'll also alter the display amount and render amount. We'll make sure they're both 100. Now we can see it's really, really full. And let's go down to the clumping, and we'll increase the clumping to about, we'll bring it almost all the way to the end to where it's just a little bit past 0.9. And we'll go under roughness, and we'll increase the uniform under roughness to about, I'm thinking 0.125. It gives it a little bit of life, so it's just not so stiff. I feel like it looks a little bizarre when it's just so stiff. And we'll add a little bit of a kink, and I think I want to add a wave. And I'm going to make some minor changes to this. I think I'm just going to change the clump to 0.5. I'm not going to mess with the amplitude. I'm not going to mess with flatness or frequency. I am going to change the shape from 0 to 0.5. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. That looks a little bit better. And I already know that the strand shape of the hair is going to be really weird. Or sorry, the diameter root. So I'm going to change that to 0.25. And let's go under the material panel right here, and we will add a new shader, and we'll bring this to around where it's just a little bit, where like the green and the yellow are starting to sort of intersect, and we'll bring this down a little bit. I like that. And then we'll go into rendered view mode. Yeah, that looks good. I can see that the plane does have, you know, the ground floor is green, so it's good to just pop in here and add a new material. Make that like a dark brown, a real dark brown. tab into edit mode. It's already selected. You can just hit this assign button. It should change it to brown when you tab out of edit mode. Everything will re-render. And yeah, I feel like that looks pretty good. And you can obviously, like I said, change the grass, change the rocks, really do whatever. But this will at least get you going so you can make your scenes the way you want them and start structuring them and just, save you time on creating things. So I hope you had fun. If you did, consider leaving a like and a subscribe. And yeah, create something awesome out there today. Take it easy out there.